Hi, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, or good night to all the watchers because I don't know where you are. This is program number three, sorry. You have just seen the mighty Niarco, bred and owned by Senatore Federico Tesio and Marchese Mario Incisa della Rocchetta under the banner Razza d'Ormello Giatta, winning the Grand Prix de Paris in 1938. Niarco changed completely the world of thoroughbred with his progeny, of course. And so I call him the mighty Niarco. You must bear in mind that more or less over 90% of the thoroughbred running anywhere in the world every day carry Niarco blood. This is a phenomenal achievement. Today, I have a very special guest. I'm very happy to see him again after such a long time. We saw him a couple of years ago in great pleasure and honor to welcome to this program Signor or Mr. Let's say the Wonder Boy, Steve Cauthen, maybe the Wonder Boy a few kilos ago and a few years ago, Steve. Is
Yeah,
that correct?
it's been a while, but I had some good times in the sport, and obviously been retired from riding for quite a while. But still, I'm still very much in horse racing. I've breed horses,
Yes,
and
I want to show the people this book that
yeah,
is your biography, which is a very nice. And then let me tell something. Steve Cauthen was born in 1960. 1977, he was champion jockey at 17 in the United States. He won 487 races and he was out for 1 month because he had a problem. This is an unbelievable result. In 1978, he won the Triple Crown riding Affirmed, another unbelievable achievement at 18. Then, 1979, Robert Sangster asked him to come to England. And then he was retained, Steve Cauthen was retained by Robert Sangster riding for Barry Hills. And Jimmy Lindley was there working in a certain way like your agent. And then, as soon as this guy arrived in England, he won the 2,000 Guinness riding Tapon Wood. This was another sensational achievement. Is that correct?
that is correct. Yeah,
Unbelievable.
1978, Barry Hills. Yeah, he beat Chris in the
Yes.
2000 Guineas. Yeah.
So you beat Chris. It's
hmm
trained by Harry Cecil, and later on you will join Reddy Cecil. Let me remember something which for me it was very important. After a few weeks that you won the 2000 Guinness through Jimmy Lindley, who was a great friend of mine, unfortunately he passed away a couple, maybe last year or something.
Yeah.
I invited you to ride a horse in Milano
hmm
on a Sunday. You arrived there. I remember that the press, there were articles in every newspaper. You arrived there, record crowd and record betting turnover. 1979, over 1,500,000,000 lira. That means around 750,000 euro right now, but
Right.
we were in 1979. It was a great success. After a few weeks, if you remember, you came to Torino. There was a match, Lester Pigot versus Steve Cauthen. Another great success, record crowd, uh, record betting turnover. And I remember that in the Italian press, all the journalists wrote, Steve Cauthen, the Wonder Boy, is a very spoiled boy, drinks only champagne, all this rubbish. Do you remember that?
I couldn't read Italian, so I couldn't read it, but But
I
yeah,
think,
everybody, yeah, I'm sure they were saying that in England too. Yeah.
but it was true that he was a little bit spoiled at the time. Anyway, a kid that at 17 was champion jockey in America and 18 won the Triple Crown must be, if he's spoiled, is correct. What do you think?
Are you asking me, was I spoiled?
Yes, a little
Uh,
bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I was used to riding good horses and whatever, but no, part of it was, yeah, I was started drinking champagne because I was over in England, and it was like, I enjoyed it. It was fun. I was enjoying myself. I in America, I had basically been working, every day of every,
Yeah.
second of every day. I literally didn't have a second to myself. I was, flying from California to New York and riding 10 races a day. So when I got to England, it was it was a more relaxing situation, and I was enjoying it. Yeah, no doubt.
And then, anyway, you are the only jockey who won the Kentucky Derby and the Epsom Derby twice, which is another fantastic achievement. And then you started your association with Henry Cecil, later on Sir Henry Cecil. And this, I want to tell you something that I'm sure that you don't know. And then I want to know your comment.
Okay.
1989, you came to Rome
Right.
riding a horse called Orban in the Premio Roma. Orban was owned by His Royal Highness Abdurrahman bin Abdallah Al Faisal.
Yep.
Johnny Lewis of the BBA England, another great friend of mine, was the
Come on.
manager
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
His Royal Highness. And
Right.
he arrived there in Rome. He was very skeptical about Orban beating Tony Bean.
Right.
And Harry Cecil was there, Julie Cecil was there,
Hmm.
and you arrived, and Harry went to the waiting room where you were,
Yeah.
just arrived from London. The
Correct.
day before, you won your championship, beating Pat Edery on the nod. You
Right. Right.
remember that?
Well,
Unbelievable.
I remember beating Pat Edry on the nod. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, beating Pat Edery on the nod. And then, of course, Henry congratulated you, and then probably you start talking about the tactics for the race. When
Hmm.
he came out of the waiting room, I asked Henry, "Listen, but Steve Cauthen, what is going to do today to beat Tony Bean?" And he said, "Carlo, I tell you something. Steve Cauthen is the only jockey in the world who has a clock in his head, and he can improve. He can improve every stride of the horse by a mini fraction of the second, and in this way he can destroy everybody." Is it true that or not?
Well, I don't know that I didn't. I obviously Henry didn't say that to me. Maybe that's what he believed. But yeah, I mean, I think I had a good. I mean, I believe I changed, racing in Europe a little bit by
Yes.
by using my judgment of pace. Yeah.
And then in front you were great, like you show
But
with the
it's
two
yeah.
Derby winners.
Yeah, it didn't really matter whether I was in front or behind, but obviously from the front, I could control the pace my own way. Obviously if they were also when they were going too fast, I knew not to, to relax my horse and come from behind, but obviously my big advantage was from the front because everybody was afraid to go to the front.
Yes,
Everybody wanted to sit behind somebody. So I would go out because I knew I was going the right pace and I knew I had a good enough horse to finish, and I'd usually beat him. So
and then after the race, I remember very well the owner of Tony Bean, Mr. Luciano Gaucci, had a press conference, and he said, "I will sue Cash Asmussen, who rode Tony Bean, because he cheated badly. I will take him to court." And then everybody, was shocked. And I was not there. Otherwise, I would have told Signor Gaucci, "Please bear in mind what Harry Cecil told about this guy."
yeah,
Anyway, I think that is a very good story. As you now, I have to say that we have a break, a very short break, and then we will be back in less than a minute. Don't go away and stay with us. Non riesco a beccare qui, eccolo qui. Now we are ready to go back to the Wonder Boy. And listen, probably you know that now in Europe there is a Hall of Fame which has been created by the Qatari people. I have to say that, in my opinion, this Hall of Fame is not a good thing because I make you some example. Senatore Federico Tesio is not there. Nearco is not there. His Highness the Aga Khan is not there. His Highness Prince Khaled bin Abdallah bin Abdul Rahman Al Saud is not there. Henry Cecil is not there. Charlie Whittingham is not there. Bobby Frankel is not there. Vincent O'Brien and John Magner are not there. Sir Michael Stout is not there. And then Lester Piggott and Steve Cauthen are not there. In my opinion, if you have a Hall of Fame and you don't get this legend into the Hall of Fame, it doesn't make sense. What's your opinion?
Well, they inducted me last year. So last October, I got inducted. And I believe Lester's definitely in it. And I believe Henry's in it. You know, I think what they did, they wanted to get it started. And now they'll gradually start, bringing Vincent and, various people from the past, Tessio and Nyarko and those horses. It's just kind of I think it's going to take a little, time to do it, but they'll do that all. So I think it's a great idea. It's not, like you said, it's not perfect yet, but they're working on it, and I think it. Obviously, the history is what racing has. We have such a great history. All in Europe and America and everywhere. It's that's what we really look back on to decide how good the horses or the jockeys or whatever today are. Comparing them, even though it's very difficult. But I think it will take a little time, but it'll be a good thing in the end.
Yes, but you have to induct all the people that I mentioned, but Sir Harry Cecil and yourself, because otherwise it's not good. Let's tell us something about that Wonder Horse Affirm. You won the Triple Crown with him.
I did, yeah. He was an amazing horse. Sorry about that. That's my telephone, my other phone.
Don't worry.
But anyway, yeah, 19 the year that I was talking. Sorry.
1978.
No, 1977 when I got hurt. While I was away, the month that I was out, Affirm ran his first race, and he an apprentice jockey rode him for Las Barrera. He won at Belmont. And then after that, Angel Cordero rode him in a stake race and won. And then he ran in another stake race, and Alidar won that race. And I think Affirm was second. So then they sent Affirmed out to California, and Lafitte Pinkai rode him, and he won. And so when I came back from my injury, we were going up to Saratoga, and that's when, obviously at that point, I think Las Barrera offered the ride to Angel Cordero in the Sanford Stakes, and they also, I'm sure, offered it to Lafitte. But Angel thought he had a better horse, a horse called Tilt Up, because Affirm was kind of, he probably didn't show all his cards at that point. He always was a little bit, just did what he had to do.
Sorry, Steve, if I interrupt you for a while.
Sure.
You say that you compete with Angel Cordero, Lafitte Pincay, all these jockeys that at the time they were legends, and you
Sure.
were 17, 18. This is unbelievable.
Yeah, no, it was that's who I was riding, and I feel very fortunate because I rode against a lot of great jockeys in America, and then when I came to Europe, I was riding. I think it was a great era of jockeys then, because obviously Pat Edry and Lester, Walter Swinburne, Greville Starkey,
Joe Mercer,
Joe Mercer, and then in Europe, in England or France, it was Freddie Head and Yves Saint Martin, and then we had Signor Dettori, riding in Italy, and there were some other good jockeys riding in Italy at the time. So yeah, it was and obviously Ireland. There was some good riders over in Ireland. So it was well, Mick Cannan was one of the ones I was riding against,
Christy
but
Rossi was riding at the
and
time.
Christy
Christy
Roach. Yeah,
Rossi.
right. So
And
anyway, it was I was lucky to ride always against some very very good jockeys, and of course they taught me a lot. You learn when I think that's one thing about why top trainers have an advantage. Because they've got other good horses in the mornings to work their horses with, and it makes them better. It makes them learn how to run harder and faster and stronger. And so anyway. Um,
and sorry, and the great competition with Alitar.
Right. So anyway, when we got to Saratoga, I got lucky and got on. That's when I first rode Affirmed, and the first time I rode him and he won. I beat Angel on this horse that he had picked, Tilt Up. But like when I got off of him, I thought he seemed like a nice horse and all that, but he didn't give me that feel. Like it was he felt like a nice horse. The next race was the Hopeful Stakes, and that's the first time I rode him against Aladar. And in that race, that was the day. I mean, when Aladar came and challenged me at the top of the stretch, I mean, it felt like two rockets taking off. I mean, we flew down the stretch, and that was when I'd never been on a horse that that could quicken like that, and I also knew that Aladar was a daggone good horse too. So yeah, that was the start of a great relationship between me and Affirmed, and also a great rivalry between Aladar and Affirmed.
And affirm that
Yeah,
I don't know if people, the watcher, will realize that a young jockey, a kid, 18 years old, competing with all the best jockey and living legends at the time, he has been able to beat them, winning the Triple Crown, because you can win many jockeys. They won one of the legs of the Triple Crown, but
sure.
at 18 to win the three legs, that means the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness Stakes, and the Belmont Stakes. Over a mile and a quarter, 9 furlongs, and a mile and a half is not. An easy achievement, and you did that when you were 18.
Yeah, no, it was heavy
Something like
times.
a dream,
Yeah, it really was. I was living a dream. I obviously, you said at 16 I started. I had a good 6 months because I started in May, and so I ended up champion apprentice that year. Then the next year was the 1977 when I won 487 races, and when I started riding Affirmed, and I
exactly.
also rode Johnny D and won the DC International that year and beat Lester on Exceller, and you know it was kind of it was things were really rolling, and then of course '78 was great because of the Triple Crown, and it's amazing how things are. It's like the ups and downs of life. But I went through a losing streak, and I got taken off of Firmed, and Sangster offered me the job to come to Europe, and then it turned out to be a great um, blessing to my life because when
Exactly.
when Robert invited me to come, and I was obviously questionable about it, at first, but he said, "Look, Steve, long term, you're going to need to come to Europe because of your weight. You're a tall guy. You're going to keep growing." And I knew he was right, and luckily, I took his advice and took the job, and it was it was a great blessing. I got to work with some great people. Barry and Penny Hills being one. Obviously, Henry and Julie. It was a wonderful time, and I got to travel and see the world.
I have to say, living in a dream with a little bit of champagne, which helps. Listen,
Yeah.
finally, finally, what are you doing right now?
I have, ever since I returned. I mean, I always had this property. I bought it in 1977. It was just a farmland, and so I turned it into a stud farm, and I breed horses. I've got like 12 mares, and I breed and sell and race. I race a few. I've got 4 in training right now of my own, and yeah, I love the game. I'm enjoying it as much now as ever. In fact, now I'm finally enjoying it more. But I think the breeding side, because after 25 years, I think I'm starting to catch on to what I'm doing.
Exactly.
I've learned a lot of lessons, like everybody. But it's a great game. We're very lucky to be in it, and I've been blessed, no doubt, in my life.
Anyway, you have been great at the time when the first time I met you in 1979. Then I met you in America and met you in England. And then you have been extremely kind to be in this program. So I wish you the best of luck for your future, and might see you in America, because the plan is to go maybe to Saratoga for the Travers,
Oh,
or
good. I'll be there. Yeah.
for the November, for the mixed sales, Breeders' Cup, and the mixed sales
Yeah.
in Keeneland.
Well,
So we might,
if you come to the Travers, I will be there. So I look
okay,
forward
we
to
might
seeing you
catch
there.
up.
Yeah,
Okay, thank
absolutely.
you very much, and then for your
Carlos,
time, and have a great day, Steve. Thank
you too,
you.
buddy. All the best.
Thank you.
Cheers.